In the wake of the death of George Floyd and the massive protests that followed, there have been signs of a major cultural shift occurring, particularly when it comes to signs and symbols of the Confederacy. In the past 2 weeks, Confederate statues have been toppled or taken down. NASCAR's banned all Confederate flags at its events and races. The country music group Lady Antebellum just changed its name to now be Lady A because of the word's association with slavery. And TV networks pulling films like Gone with the Wind. Joining me now, David Pilgrim. He's the founder and director of the Jim Crow Museum in Michigan. It's great to have you here. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. You have a unique perspective on this debate. What should stay, what should go, and what they represent. You're a black man who's been long fighting racism. You're also the founder of a museum dedicated to racism and using objects of America's racist past to promote social justice. How do you feel about all of these things being taken down or changed or renamed or banned?
Well, let me start by saying that we are an anti-racism facility, and we believe that you can use objects of intolerance, in this case, racial intolerance, to teach. We have politicians, police officers, civil rights groups, human rights groups, scholars, teachers, and others who come to the museum. We sit, we have difficult conversations. So I want to set that as the context. In terms of the monuments themselves, those monuments they glorify the enslavement of black people. If it were possible to relocate them, physically move them to another place and have them contextualized so that they tell the true story of the Civil War and the reasons it was fought, then maybe there would be some value in keeping them. But if that can't be done, then I just prefer that they be destroyed.
Yeah, because there is a question, just plain and simply, like, what can people learn from a statue of Jefferson Davis?
Well, people talk about heritage, that it's not hate, but it's heritage. But then I would ask the question, what heritage are you celebrating? I do believe, though, that whether we use them to teach the lessons we're trying to teach, or whether they are taught, in other words, they're teaching lessons right now where they are, but they're not the lessons that we're trying to teach.
Can you weigh in on kind of the entertainment side of this discussion? It's obviously a big part of all of our culture, is what we watch, what we see, what we listen to. Gone with the Wind taken out of circulation, Lady Antebellum changing its name. What impact do changes like that have?
Well, first of all, racial stereotypes and caricatures, they both reflect and shape attitudes toward people. And of course, movies, music have been primary ways that anti-black attitudes have been popularized in this culture. This was a little tough for me, though, because we use movies, we use old music, the so-called coon songs. We use those as teaching tools. And I think part of it is I'm an old teacher, and I've seen that you can, if properly contextualized, you can use these objects to teach people. That's not a belief of mine. It's something that I've seen.
Yeah, it is more, there's more texture to this conversation on that front. And that's why I'm so interested in speaking with you, because I'm curious, and I don't know your opinion on this. Do you think does culture change policy, or does policy change culture? Do you have to get rid of the statue in order to move towards dismantling systemic racism, or is it the other way around?
Yeah, so instead of a few minutes, I would need an hour. Obviously, they are interrelated. We have systemic racism in every major societal institution. We have it in higher ed. We have it in the legal system. We have it in our churches. I mean, what we need is a prolonged, sustained conversation with accompanying actions. But one of the things that breaks my heart during this period is that it seems that it takes the horrific videotaped death of a black man to get this nation talking about race. You know, when I travel around, people sometimes say, if you would just stop talking about race, racism would go away. And of course, that doesn't even make stupid sense. The reality is,
do people actually say that to you?
Oh, absolutely, they say it. But the reality is, we do talk about race all the time, but we don't talk about it in ways where our ideas can be challenged, where we have to listen to others. So we bring people into the museum and we show them, for example, a Mammy jar, and we ask them, what does this mean? And so for one person, it's them thinking about time spent with a grandparent, or time, you know, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, a nostalgic feeling. For someone else like myself, it represents the vestiges of enslavement and segregation. But the purpose is, and if forgive the point here, is the stable genius of the museum is that we put people together who have these different views, and we have them begin conversations.
Yeah, having those uncomfortable conversations. David, I feel like I could talk to you for hours. Thank you so much. You're a professor through and through. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.